course, the global reaction has been coming in thick and fast to the Brexit vote, and CCTV's Jessica Stone is here in the studio to break it down for us. Lots of surprise around the world. No one really saw this coming.
Definitely not, Nathan. Counting the Brexit ballots revealed what few around the world expected, but many feared. It's a decision sure to resonate in China. Now, during his visit last year, President Xi Jinping called on the UK to play a positive role in promoting the deepening of development of China-EU ties, whereas Xi's visit to London was hailed as the beginning of a golden era, and major nuclear deals and banking deals were announced. Europe, on the other hand, has sought to increase tariff steel, and the European Commission, as we know, has denied China market economy status. In responding, China's foreign ministry expressed respect for the British voters' decision, but also encouraged them to take a long-term perspective.
China supports Europe in choosing its own path of development. We hope that through relevant negotiations, the UK and the EU can reach agreement soon. A prosperous, stable Europe fits the interests of each party.
Almost immediately, parts of the UK, like Scotland and Ireland, took steps to stay inside of the European Union. The Scottish announced they were already writing up legislation to call for another referendum to leave the UK. Now, meanwhile, anti-establishment parties in Italy, France, Denmark, and Holland, they are calling for referendums to leave the European Union. The Russians, meantime, have expressed major concerns over how this decision will impact commodity prices and thus their fragile economy, which has already been buffeted by heavy sanctions.
We will strive to minimize the consequences of Brexit on our economy because we see that it hit the currencies and the markets.
President Putin just arriving now in Beijing for an official visit. Of course, Nathan, the changes in all of this and what it means for trade between these two countries, EU and the UK, sure to be a topic of conversation.
And of course, there's the US. There was that famous moment when US President Barack Obama went over to England and said, don't leave, and if you do leave, you're going to be at the back of a line for a free trade agreement. What's he sounding like now they voted to leave?
Well, no secret at what he really feels. He made it very plain, as you rightly point out. Ironically, he actually spoke before a couple hundred of global entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. He acknowledged that the sentiment sweeping across Europe is also sweeping across the United States, that of anti-establishment voters.
I do think that yesterday's vote speaks to the ongoing changes and challenges that are raised by globalization. But while the UK's relationship with the EU will change, one thing that will not change is the special relationship that exists between our two nations.
Obama also said he had just spoken with Prime Minister David Cameron, who of course has stepped down. And the US and the UK financial teams will also stay in close contact, Nathan. As this progresses, he also said he had spoken to Angela Merkel of Germany about the same thing. Of course, the Fed, the US central bank, has already said that this whole vote is impacting very much how it decides about interest rates. So we've already seen sort of the forecast of how the US sees the Brexit in terms of how it reacts to interest rates. And we have another meeting coming up in July, and we'll see what happens, but it's unlikely that we'll see a raise in interest rates.
And Donald Trump was there to witness it all, wasn't he? He was in Scotland. Well, okay, more to come.